U.S. Marines. Taliban fight for Afghan ghost town. And limited by their numbers, Marines cannot rout the Taliban. U.S. Marines patrol slowly along streets with landmines lined with abandoned businesses and shops, clinics and homes. As night falls over this Afghan ghost town, the only sounds are the howling of coyotes and the creaking of tin roofs in the wind. 3 years after its residents fled, the once bustling town of Nowzad is the scene of a stalemate between a company of newly arrived U.S. Marines and a band of Taliban fighters. The Americans have plenty of firepower, but what they don't have is enough men to hold captured or seized ground. "We would just be mowing the weeds," said Captain Zachary Martin, of any move to drive out the Taliban. And the deadlock shows how a shortage of troops has hindered the Afghan war and points to the terrific challenges for the Obama administration as it sends 21,000 extra Marines and soldiers to the south to try to turn around a bogged down 8-year conflict. How much longer will this war go on? The influx will bring U.S. troop levels in Afghanistan to approximately 68,000 by late summer, roughly half the current level in Iraq, a smaller country than Afghanistan. And it's unclear if more troops will be deployed to this town in Helmand province, the heart of the Taliban insurgency and the opium poppy trade that fuels it. For the meantime, at least, it appears Nowzad is too valuable to abandon to the insurgents, but not valuable enough for an all-out offensive. The 300 or so Marines in Nowzad regularly patrol areas close to the Taliban front lines, skirmishing with them and risking attacks from the area's biggest killer, IEDs. Over the last month, IEDs have killed 1 Marine and wounded 7. 4 of the men, including the fatality, suffered double leg amputations. That is not good. "Welcome to Hell," reads one message, spray painted on a wall in the town's main base by British troops whom the Marines replaced last year. "Good luck, USA," reads another. No locals to help or have help. Along with the new troops and military aircraft, the U.S. plans a corresponding surge in development projects to convince the poor, mostly poor, Afghan population that the central government, not the insurgents or Taliban, offers the best hope for the future. The U.S. is also spending more on training the Afghan police and army, so theoretically they can eventually take on the Taliban. But with Nowzad's 10,000 to 35,000 residents long gone, there are no hearts and minds to win here, even were it safe enough to build schools, roads, or clinics. The town also has no local security forces, and no one can say when they might possibly arrive. Nobody lives there anymore. It's a ghost town. Even in our wildest dreams, we're not going to have enough Marines and soldiers to be everywhere. said one Brigadier General, Larry Nicholson, the commander of the first wave of 10,000 new troops pouring into Helmand province. That is why it is important to have the locals taking more responsibility. But they're not here. They left. They fled. Unlike much of Afghanistan, Nowzad was relatively peaceful in the years following the U.S.-led invasion. Water pumps installed by the United Nations World Food Program are dotted around the town, and there was at least one health clinic funded by the European Union. But then in 2006 and 2007, just when the U.S. was focused on Iraq, the Afghan insurgency, or Taliban, stepped up a gear, and Nowzad became the scene of fierce battles between NATO troops and the Taliban. Nowzad remains so dangerous that this is the only Marine unit in Afghanistan that brings along 2 trauma doctors, as well as 2 armored vehicles used as ambulances and supplies of fresh blood. And apart from one small stretch of paved road, the Marines patrol only behind an engineer who sweeps the ground with a metal detector. The men who follow scratch out a path in the sand with their foot to ensure those trailing them do not stray off the course. Each one carries at least one tourniquet. "It's a hell of a ride," said one soldier, a 20-year-old engineer on his first deployment. "Every step you think this could be my last," said the soldier, who has found 6 bombs in the company's 4 weeks in the town. The enemy hides in a maze. The men of Golf Company, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines, and Nowzad know where to find their enemy. To the north of town, in a maze of compounds and tunnels that back onto lush pomegranate orchards. In some kind of ways, this is very similar to the Vietnam War. Actually, it's much worse than that. In some kind of way also. How much longer will this war go on? And again, when will it be won? And how will they know when they have won the war? And also, what is there to win? Each day, the Marines aggressively patrol to limit the Taliban's freedom of movement. They keep a 24-hour watch on the battlefield using high-tech surveillance equipment and are able to fire mortar rounds at insurgents spotted planting bombs or gathering in numbers. A recent day-long battle showed the massive difference in firepower between the 2 sides, as well as the tenacity of the Taliban. It took place close to a Pakistani alley, so named because of one-time reports that fighters from across the border were deployed along the road. Anyway, again, how much longer is the Afghan war going to go on? How much longer can it go on? And really, in all reality, what could they possibly win by staying longer? And could all these things, could this war end up badly? It very well could. And what about Pakistan? Anyway, once again, all these things are connected to something bigger. Everything is connected, and these are more signs of the end times transition days. The transition is happening day by day. all around the world.